Hey YouTube, it's another perfect day in God's country, and I ain't lying. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking another moment out of your day to hang out with me, Lucky Haskins, for yet another moment of truth. All the way down to the tips of my nicotine stained fingers. I'm vibrating and resonating with truth this morning. While I was having my coffee this morning, I was firing up the YouTube there to try to reply to some of my commenters, which I need to say thank you very, very much. And noticed a lot of stuff in my feed about, the Artemis fakery and blah, 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 blah. And it was, a bunch of channels I never heard of, people I, don't know and whatever. So I found myself clicking on one of them, which led to some fascinating stuff. So I found myself clicking on several of them, and it inspired me to go ahead and make a part 3 to this Flat Earthers Save Millions of Lives series that I've been working on here for a couple of days. What have Flat Earthers ever done? And I got to tell you, folks, as many of you know, I disappeared for a few months again, more or less. I mean, I have hardly made any videos really over the past, 6, 8 months, maybe even the past year. I do a lot more disappearing than I do showing up and making videos. And that includes my time online, researching what's going on in this shit show of a reality we find ourselves in. All of that becomes limited because I find it really good for my health and for my family and et cetera, et cetera. I would just rather be outside doing stuff and taking care of things. There's lots to do here. I'm always working, always busy, always trying to survive in this crazy new world, in this crazy new economy. So I haven't really been in touch with what's going on in the world of truth. And so, wow, how refreshing I feel this morning, folks. How refreshing it was to see not only the world snapping out of the trance and seemingly almost nobody is falling for this Artemis fakery, and they're finally all catching up to what we've been pointing out for 10, 12, 13 years. I should stop saying we. What many flat earthers have been pointing out for 10, 12 years. I don't want to sound like I'm taking credit for other people's work, right? You know what I mean? Like guys that do certain experiments. I'm not trying to take credit when I say, what has the flat earth community done? I'm trying to give everybody credit for the role. Lots of people have different roles. Some of us mostly flap our jaws, right? We all have our own roles, I reckon. But, so I'm not trying to take credit for certain things that certain people have proven and explained and things like that. I'm talking about as a whole. So that's why I'm saying we, if anybody's wondering, okay? I'm not claiming I accomplished all this. For sure. For sure. I'm absolutely doing the opposite and tipping my hat to all the brothers and sisters that have hung in there for 10 years and 12 years. The 10 and 12-year veterans, they deserve a hat tip, man. But what I saw this morning was not only is the world waking up, now I'm going to get to that because I believe it's by design, of course, and that was the premise of my channel, and I'm going to reverse backpedal back to all that stuff. We're going to talk about that this morning. But I want to stick to the theme here about what have flat earthers done for anybody? And let's talk about it because the world has massively changed thanks to the flat earth and the old guard and all of the truth community that stood up to all the mockery and everything 10, 12 years ago and is still going strong. Look, now we can all kick back and pop open a beer and look at what we have accomplished, period. I don't know why someone would sit around now and say, what have these flat earthers ever done? We have created massive change in the world. Just as we all used to say 10, 12, 13 years ago, if we keep talking and keep talking the truth, it will spread. The truth cannot be denied, and it can't be unlearned or unseen. It can only grow, it can't shrink. And the truth stands up to any and all investigation. Theoretical, agenda-based science does not stand up to any investigation, which is why they don't want you listening to someone like me that speaks pure truth. So back to what have the flat earthers done? Look at what I saw today was so amazing to me because they're all young. All the young folks, man, bunch of 25-year-olds making videos going, wait a minute. Some of it was so hilarious, folks. I mean, I, of course, know that nobody goes to outer space. I've told you this for 10 years. Of course, we know nobody goes to outer space. So it's not like I needed to log on to see if this Artemis thing was real in any way. Of course not. Of course, there's nobody in the nose cone, folks. There's never been anybody put into a nose cone of one of them fireworks and launched into the Atlantic Ocean. It's never going to happen, never happened. Forget about it, okay? It's just not going to happen. So we already know it's fake. However, seeing all these young folks now not being fooled. Like I saw this kid, couldn't have been 22 years old, and he says, hey, here's a photo they gave us of Artemis halfway to the moon. And it shows the moon as this tiny little dot. And he says, here's what the moon looks like outside right now. And the and the moon is huge. And he's like, why is it so small when you're halfway there? I mean, give me a break, folks. But anyway, again, what have flat earthers done for anybody? Well, look at the young folks running with the baton. For those of you who are friends of this channel, you've been hearing me for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, saying, listen, man, we've done our jobs. Buy yourself a bottle of wine and pass the baton. That's how real change happens. That's how real things get done. Carry the heavy stuff for the old guys. And that's, if you ever worked in a union or whatever, or just worked on a good crew, you don't make the old guy carry the bags of concrete. You use the experience of the old guy, and the 20-year-old gets to carry the bags of concrete or whatever it is you're doing, right? At some point, the old guy gets to pass the baton. And I was just grinning from ear to ear this morning. I think I drank 3 cups of coffee just watching these young folks go, come on, man. And they're just eating this Artemis mission alive. And of course, folks, we've been telling you for years, of course nobody goes to space. How do we know nobody goes to space? Because outer space is a fictional place. It's made up. You don't get to make up a place and then fly to it, folks, especially one that disagrees with experiment, okay? We know that outer space doesn't exist. How do we know this, Lucky? Because it disagrees with experiment. But it's on the television, yeah? Well, they also showed you curvature of the Earth at 75,000 feet on your television. Wake up, folks. I try to explain this to people, how propaganda works. Tried to explain to you, guarantee there's going to be rockets down there at the Edmund Fitzgerald. And it's not just that I'm like, everything's fake. The Edmund Fitzgerald propaganda follows every single pattern they use over and over and over and over. Like I told you, why do they pretend to go to space? It's only to pretend that space can even exist, because without space, there's no globe. So they're constantly pretending they're going to space because that confirms the globe without saying it. The blinded sheep, everything's around a corner, right? Like I explained the geologists. Well, the geologists, everything that super intelligent geologist has discovered is right in line with the heliocentric model. And yet you think it's across the sciences. Yeah, because he was forced to use the heliocentric model. That's called a body of work. He was handed the heliocentric model and a historical narrative. If he discovered, you understand what he discovered. He discovered rocks that weren't supposed to be there. That's a discovery. That's a discovery. However, theoretical, fabricated, fictional science and a false historical narrative forced him to change those rocks from being, we don't know why they're here, to yes, we do, because I was told why they're here. And people can't get that. What he can then creates is not proof, folks, that, oh, the geologists agree that that stuff is 4 billion years old. No, they don't agree. They thought the heliocentric model was correct. All of their work was based upon the heliocentric model. I've said over and over and over, it is the fundamental basis of inverting science. Everything falls under the umbrella of the globe Earth and how it inverted everything. Everything. It's all inverted, and everything it touches, it infects everything that it touches. That's why it was so intricately woven into society and people can't see it. This is why they don't constantly come on TV and say, we swear it's a globe. Instead, they come on TV and say, we're going to space, because that confirms the globe without saying it. Like the JFK, okay? This is why the CIA fed the public multiple stories. There was another shooter. It was Oswald. It was the grassy knoll. It was the mob. It was the mafia. No, it was the Russians. The Russians hacked the election. They hacked JFK. Okay, folks, what does all that do? Makes people accept without question that somebody killed JFK. When I'm here to tell you there's no need to kill JFK. They didn't have to kill him. They didn't kill him. It's a television show. There's no need to kill him. You're watching propaganda. This is agenda-based propaganda used to guide humanity. There's no need to kill him. There's no need to sink the Edmund Fitzgerald. Get it? There's no need for them to show you or to prove the globe. They can tell you we're going to outer space. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. That confirms the globe. And nobody can figure that out. That's how propaganda works. Everything comes in sideways. Like the piece of propaganda I told you I saw, like on the History Channel or something one time, and they claimed that they actually saved Einstein's brain after he passed away so future scientists could study it. Then they went on to say, now we've done that, and we've taken MRIs of his brain, and we've determined that it is unusually more they started showing you the differences. Look at his brain versus the regular human brain. You can see all this, and they're literally bullshitting the public like that. And what does the public see when they watch that kind of propaganda? Nothing other than an amazing story about how brilliant Einstein was. What are they really watching? It's globe propaganda, period. Sideways propaganda, and they can't get it. They go through that big of lengths, these brilliant propagandists, to keep everything interwoven and sideways so that people sit down and watch an episode and go, wow, that is incredible. Einstein really did have a special brain. So yeah, man, space and time is warped and it's a globe. And of course, the masses don't know anything about Einstein's theories. They just know that they think it's a globe, and Einstein was a real dude, and he's super smart, and that's how we know it's a globe, and yada, yada, yada. One other thing, another massive scientific advancement by the flat earthers, and again, when I say we, I don't mean me. I didn't go out there and participate in this particular experiment, but clearly the globe only had, again, I know if you're new here and you're part of the blinded masses, or you believe you still live on a globe, or you sit on a fence, you don't understand and you don't have a lot of knowledge. If you still believe in the globe, you have three things going on. First and foremost is a lack of knowledge. You're missing way too many pieces of the puzzle, and you know very little about your belief. And that's always going to be across the board. And everybody comes in and goes, no, I know a lot about my belief. And they go right down the list of propaganda talking points that points out that they know nothing about their belief, period. So across the board, if you believe in the globe, it's primarily because you know so little about your belief. Second one is, of course, the propaganda and the indoctrination, but your comprehension skills have been extremely diluted and compromised by such heavily intrawoven propaganda and indoctrination that was meticulously and carefully and brilliantly put together to achieve exactly what it has achieved. Like I like to say, why would they lie? To create you. If you have to ask that question, you are the product, my friend. Sorry, okay? So, it's so intricately woven. But anyway, so comprehension is just blocked. Comprehension blockers, most of them it's all propaganda and all theoretical shit, but it's endless. Of course, water is 100% physics, demonstrable physics, prove unequivocally. What does a body of water require? It requires containment. After it finds and seeks its level and its containment, we then have a flat and level body of water. Only its agitation conflicts with that level body water, keeping it from being flat. It's going to become topographical depending on conditions, right? Waves, as we call them. But we know unequivocally, remove all your beliefs and theories, and we're back. And let's talk about reality. We know this unequivocally. That body of water is going to seek containment, and then it will seek its level, and it'll lay there flat and level. That's an example of real science. So the globe Earth never had any science, and it was never proven. So for over 100 years, they told a lie to people. Well, I won't even call it a lie, just a false piece of information, because obviously a lot of people spread this lie, believing it to be true. You still hear people that know very little about their belief say this to this day. The reason people still say this to this day is because this was the only globe science for 100 years. This was what they used as the proof of the globe, that a ship disappears bottom up as it's going over the horizon. Therefore, the Earth's a ball. That was all they had. And they stood on that 1,000,000%. They actually used that as the reason why they first suspected it could be a ball, because ships disappear from the bottom up was the reason they claim that they even started to suspect that the Earth could be a ball. Now, with modern video equipment, that was quickly and easily dismantled, and it's very easily provable using real demonstrable science why a boat disappears from the bottom up. The answer is perspective, but this is where all the mental midgets chime in. But to give it to you really briefly short without let's having a discussion about perspective, why does the boat disappear bottom first? Because that's where the obstructions are. They're at the bottom. And when you study perspective, you will see that everything compresses the further and further away you get. And any obstructions, which in this case, the boat only has the sky above the water, that's not obstructing anything. The obstructions are at ground level. The obstructions become more and more and more as the distance between you and what you're viewing expand. So it's very simple, demonstrable, provable science. The mental midgets claim it's not proof because they have a belief that conflicts with the demonstrable science. This is how easy it is to manipulate people. Folks, theoretical beliefs have no advantage or place up against demonstrable science. That's why you've been fooled. So, again, what have flat earthers ever done for anybody? Another one of the biggest, massive changes to mainstream science, and it happens basically overnight, is when flat earthers proved through experiment that the horizon is not fixed, it's apparent. It doesn't exist, it's apparent. The horizon is caused, again, by demonstrable science, perspective. That's what causes the horizon, period, okay? So the horizon is an apparent location, not a fixed location. In other words, flat earthers prove the horizon isn't there, completely debunking the globe Earth model once again. So when actual, provable, demonstrable, testable, repeatable science shatters the globe, in fact, that was the reason they said they invented the globe, was because ships disappearing from the ground up. But now we know why ships disappear from the ground up. So therefore, debunking the very reason they give us as a historical narrative why they thought it was a globe in the first place shattered that illusion in real time. Did they go, oh, okay, you're right, the model's incorrect, it disagrees with experiment again? No, they simply waved it away. Oh, no problem. We don't. And then they said, the horizon is actually there. It's just an illusion. You'll never be able to find the horizon because of refraction. But wait a minute. For 100 years, you said you knew the Earth was a globe because of the physical horizon. The boat was going over a physical horizon. You get it? That was the whole basis, the foundation for human beings ever saying, maybe it's a ball. And of course, humans were never that stupid, folks. The ball is by design to fool you, okay? No one was ever stupid enough in history to go, hey, a boat's going over the horizon bottom first. Do you think we might live on a ball? No one was ever that stupid, folks. It's agenda-based propaganda. It's how they took control of society in the new world. Simple as that. Get over it. There is nothing to debate. Your theories have been debunked over and over and over again. If you want to keep believing in your fantastical fairy tale world of theories, knock yourself out, but stop hanging out and trying to talk with the big boys. The mental midgets can have their own little playground. By the way, this morning I also swung by a couple of old school Globe websites, and their businesses have been decimated, which is good to see. Obviously, the masses are waking up in droves, folks. But anyway, back to the advancement. That's a huge advancement, completely shattering the globe. We proved there is no physical horizon. The physical horizon is required for the Earth to be a globe. It doesn't exist, but the Globers partied on, man. That's okay. It's an illusion. But provably now, boats are not going over any physical horizon. Globe debunked. Once again, that was a major, major scientific advancement made by flat earthers. And again, folks, giant hat tip to the flat earthers. Now, what else have the flat earthers done, man? Log on and look up Artemis right now. Hell yeah. Now, I want to point out that I told you guys in 2020, I asked a 10th grader, a dude, a male 10th grader who had 26 people in his class. And I said, dude, I just want to ask you a very honest question. How many kids in your class would you say, keep in mind, this was 6 years ago. I said, how many kids in your 10th grade class would you say are skeptical of the globe Earth? I'm not asking if they think it's flat or it's a globe. How many of the kids in your class are skeptical of the globe Earth? And he instantly said, oh, every one of the boys and half the girls. I said, really? He said, yeah, every dude in the class is like, globe Earth, my ass. I'm like, oh, this was 6 years ago, folks, okay? 10th graders. Every dude and half the girls. I'm like, really? Wow, that's good to hear, man. And of course, right now, there's people going, oh my God, that's disgusting, uneducated. That's because these people are so indoctrinated and they're just fools. They don't even understand what science is. Skepticism is required in science. Anytime somebody tells you trust the science, believe the science, you're being fooled. You need to learn the science. So these kids are wanting to learn the science, okay? They're not willing to be told it's a ball and be okay with that. It is super healthy for the human mind, and I was very happy when I heard that from the mouth of a 10th grader. All the dudes and half the girls, he said. And of course, you can picture that because you're going to have the other half of the girls that are just so timid, they would never speak out loud against anything the teacher's going to say. They want their A's. They want their, you know what I mean? We all know them girls. We remember them girls from high school, sat in the front row, never got, 100% on every test. Every homework, they're the first one handing it in. They get the big A on the top and a smiley face. And we all know them chicks. Come on now. So, that I would say that was exactly on par. I would love to ask that question to a 10th grader now. I bet you everybody in the class is skeptical of the globe, as they should be. Of course, it's false. But regardless of what science it is that they're skeptical of, that's a great sign for any human being to be skeptical of any science. That means they're willing to get involved. That's a great sign. You should be skeptical of all science, especially fictional science that can't be proven. You should be highly skeptical by now of science fiction. Okay? And that's what these channels are, these trying to, these globe earth channels. They're science fiction channels and attempting to keep people in the science fiction religion that some call scientism. I just call it the one world religion. It's clearly what it is. And that's how the new world has been guided. That's how humanity's been guided. Everything falls under the umbrella of the globe, as I've explained numerous times. So, seeing all these young folks, man, but here's the big, whoa. I'll take a moment here to remind you guys, the whole premise of my channel was watch out for the flat earth psyop. And I'm not one to call out shills, if you've noticed that. Why don't I say this person's a shill and that person's a shill and this is a shill and he's a shill and he's probably owned and controlled and he's a blah, blah. Because there's 0 point in that, folks, unless you just like making enemies. It's good. It's really good for doing that. You piss people off, no doubt. I've only pissed off one person. Well, no, I pissed off a lot of people, but I've only pissed off one good person, and that was my mistake, and I did apologize. I'll just leave that at that. I have one regret. All the videos I've ever made, I only have one regret, and that was me being absolutely fucking hammered and shouting at Sovereign Soul, my man Sovereign Soul. I still consider him a friend, but I ask for, I asked for no, like, hey, Lucky's still cool. I don't deserve it. Whatever. Not a problem, man. That one was on me. You ever see the third baseman? It's hit right to him. It goes right between his legs and under his glove. What's he going to do? That was on me, man. That's one of those. That's my only regret, which is pretty cool because my channel has been around for quite a while. I've said a lot of shit and a lot of shit about a lot of people. And I don't take any of it back except for what I said about my man Sovereign Soul, who's a really good guy. Just a really good dude, man. So that was the only regret I have in all these years. Even my drunk videos. A lot of them I take down because I curse like crazy and, get a little derogatory. And I slur a lot when I'm, on my 14th Pabst Blue Ribbon. Paps are pretty high octane, by the way, compared to like Bud Light or whatever. But anywho, yeah, there'd be my one regret, right? I do have a regret in making these videos. And after that point, I made a lot less videos, but I kind of mentioned to everybody I was so fed up with it, man. Like I said, I was driving my channel like a demolition derby car for a while because I was just like, oh, fuck them all, It's not hard to get that attitude. This community got really disgusting. I shouldn't say this community, but we were infiltrated by a lot of really disgusting people. So I want to take a moment, even though many of you know, because I know many of you that I still know that have been around as long as me, because, we used to chat in chat rooms or, comment sections. And so many of you know how long I've been around this community, the truth community as a whole and the flat earth community. I came in purely as a chemtrail guy and pissed off the whole truth community when I said I've been watching them since 77. And it took 4 years for them the truth community to catch up with that, by the way. Now we know they've been doing it as long as they've been flying jet planes. But listen, man, let's get right down to this. When I started my channel finally for a very poignant reason, and in my first 6 months of making videos, I would say this almost every video: watch out for the flat earth psyop. And then again, I'm not big on naming names and calling people out, and I didn't want to create a big shit fest. And I remember telling you guys over and over, how do you know who the COINTEL channels are? Well, we know the NASA shit's being fed to us. Does anybody recall Lucky saying that over and over and over? Watch out for the flat earth psyop. How do we know who the controlled op is? Well, we know the NASA stuff's being fed to us, man. There's no way that NASA is releasing all that obvious fake footage by accident. I've said that since the moment I started my channel. So that pointed everybody right to the COINTEL channels, or it should have. Now, I believe, it's not even a belief. I mean, that's why I started my channel, and I told you guys that then, and I still tell you guys that to this day. There's nothing that they're letting out. Okay, now the science is a different story. That's why I always talk about the science. The science is all right there for anybody to study. Okay, and it's easy once you dive in to figure out how they use theoretical science to fool the masses and to fool scientists and to fool some seemingly intelligent people. Although, it's clear to see that their intelligence has been highly compromised and taken many hits because they cannot walk away from the propaganda. They just can't. They cannot do it. The Russians would have told us if we didn't go to the moon, man. Just like they hacked the elections. They can't walk away from the propaganda. I just had a guy in a comment thread go down the whole list. So you think Nagasaki and Hiroshima are fake and nukes aren't real and blah, blah, blah. Everything he talked about was a propaganda illusion that he has bought into, and he's calling us dummies. It's a really ironic dynamic to find yourself in as a human being. To fully comprehend the science that they believe in, they know nothing about it, and insult you repeatedly and tell you how dumb you are and that you need an education, which, by the way, you got the education they have now, or like in my case, I got the education that they have, the one that the guy's saying, hey man, nukes are real and the countries are real and the Russians suck and we went to the moon, and that guy has the same education that I had when I was 18 years old. I'm now 56. I continued to educate myself my entire life. So I got this feeble childlike mind with a mind of a 17-year-old child telling me I need an education as he's spewing absolute horseshit that he knows nothing about. It's a bizarre dynamic that thinkers find themselves looking at in this 2026 world. But I'm going to try to stay on topic here about this NASA propaganda. Folks, I don't believe even the Epstein files and any of that stuff is organic in any way. All of it. It's huge media, owned and controlled and released for a reason. The whole Epstein and the Epstein Island and all that, okay, is it real? There's probably an island. Are the buildings real? Probably. Was there lots of sex there? Probably. But you got to understand, anything that they release to you is by design. Nobody fucking got sneaky and found the Epstein files. We busted this dude. No, folks, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. The television was made for one reason only, to program you. Get it through your head, okay? Epstein shit, all fed to us. Charlie Kirk and all that shit, all fed to us. All of it, folks, fed to us. Okay, so 5 years ago, I'm telling you guys, the NASA stuff is the most obvious psyop shit that I could point out. Therefore, you could easily find the most obvious psyop channel because it spends most of its time pushing NASA fakery. I said that clear as a bell repeatedly. Okay? Now look where we're at. Now, if you guys can't tell at this point that the Artemis fakery is by design, if you think that the idiots at NASA are so freaking stupid that they think nobody's going to figure out that all of that stuff is fake, I mean, you see my point. So that's how I pointed y'all to the COINTEL right off the bat. And I told you guys, the behind the curve thing, there's just no freaking way, folks. Man, it sucks because there's a lot of really nice people involved and a lot of people that brought a lot of good information over the years. But you'll never get me to go pet. This doesn't mean I hate anybody. This doesn't mean I don't respect anybody. I don't call people names or shills or anything. I take what I want and I leave the rest. I'm not concerned with who's working for who and all this kind of thing anymore because, folks, probably 90% of it is owned and controlled. These people that run this shit show are brilliant. You better figure that out, okay? But I never was able to get past the fact that two guys from Globebusters did the behind the curve. I told you right then there was no second chances. That's what got my channel ghosted. I told you guys right then. The Netflix behind the curve and the people involved, it couldn't be an accident. Cannot be an accident. And for those that then said, well, these guys are super nice, they apologize. Yeah, I get it. We can be nice to them, that's fine. But what people in this community weren't able to see is the results, okay? It's easy to apologize to your 24,000 listeners, and they go, yeah, that's cool. But 24 million people watched the documentary, and the world, teenagers and young folks and college students the world over used the documentary to keep them from educating themselves about this reality. Absolute genius, highly effective propaganda. And when I say highly effective, it cannot be understated. That Netflix documentary, Behind the Curve, was as effective as the original moon landing. Okay? It was highly effective propaganda. The tiny little community online is irrelevant. Of course, they can beat the apologies into 24,000 people and go, man, we were so misunderstood, da 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 da. And I hate this, folks, because they're super nice people. The truth is the truth, though. The truth is, what were the results? What were the results? Okay? Look at the results. Then, years later, okay, now who was behind the curve? Two Globebusters. Years later, the Antarctic trip, two Globebusters. Folks, I'm just never, okay, I don't care how nice somebody is and what they've brought to the table. I can't swallow that coincidence. I can't swallow that coincidence. You're telling me out of the millions of flat earthers worldwide, all over this realm, the same two are involved in both. I get it. It was the protege of the one. I get it. But folks, that's impossible for me to swallow. I'm not going to rip on anybody. I'm not going to say anything negative. I mean, there are some very good young men involved in that particular community, and that have been nothing but respectful, brilliant, intelligent, brought excellent information to the community. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to rip on anybody, but I was never able to get past Beyond the Curve because I know better. So it just puts me in a tough spot. It's just the way it is. Then they doubled down and Globebusters went and did the Antarctica thing. That can't be a coincidence, folks. It's just not. It's not palatable. So I apologize for that. But there you go. You heard it from my mouth. Okay? I mean, it is what it is. You're not going to hear me insulting somebody that's, that's just a fine young man, has always been kind. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm between a rock and a hard place, right? But those of you who know me and know this channel, I was never willing to look past Beyond the Curve. Those who know this channel know that. It's just not doable, okay? There's something off. If it's not passing the smell test, you know better. Come on now. So with all that said, yeah, you notice that brought my mood down. It's sad, man. It's sad. I don't have the answers either, folks. It's a mystery. Okay? I don't have the answers. That's a mystery. But let's get back to it, man. All these young folks waking up, handing the baton off. It don't matter if Lucky never makes another video again, folks. I mean, these guys got our back now. It should be clear today. But yeah, what I wanted to finish off talking about was, we know it's intentional, right? I'm sure that all the longtime listeners to this channel, I know I got a lot of intelligent listeners. There's no way you can look at that Artemis pile of crap and not understand that they're making it ridiculously fake on purpose. And, unfortunately, the first time ever since I've been making videos, folks, a few videos back, somebody left a comment saying I was a doom and gloom guy. Now, that's a new one, eh? For Lucky to be pinned on being a doom and gloom guy, a guy that smiles more than, I don't know. It was weird to me. However, I do talk about reality, and I don't think you really need me to tell you what's going on out our window. I don't know if that's what they mean, but I think doom and gloom is more like clickbait. Like, here come the tanks and they're going to, okay. But if you can't realize that the world ain't going to recover from what we're going through now, and you want to call me doom and gloom, well, I apologize. But just listen to some of the commenters that still defend the globe, and listen to how whacked these people are. The human race is just freaking whacked. They got no choice or no chance. The human race has no chance of recovering from this. It's only like how many people survive the reset, I guess, is what I would say. But what does this tell you, folks? That's what I mean about doom and gloom. What does it tell you now that they're exposing to the entire world that NASA's a big ball of fakery? All I can say, folks, is it ain't good. It ain't good, okay? If you understand that they wrote about World War III, well over 100 years ago, and they described the purpose of it is to make such a big, giant cluster mess. Everybody's hopeless and there's no hope and la-da-da-da-da. And then the same people that have been running this new world the whole time, they want to step forward into the light and be the known rulers. They have egos, but that's their goal. They've been running this shit show the whole time behind the scenes. They want to step into the light, and in their words, they say they want to bring the light of Lucifer upon all of humanity, and that humanity is going to join hands with them and accept the light of Lucifer. That's their claim. This is not out of the mouth of me. That's their claim. What I'm telling you is the bare bones of what they're saying is that they're going to create such a mess that humans will then beg for somebody to save them. Of course, order out of chaos. Duh. At this point, duh, folks. If you haven't figured out what a globe earther, a globe earth channel is, and a globe earth, an anti-flat earther, and a globe earth, and the globe earth propaganda is for yet, you're going to find out the hard way, because it's going to lead society directly to where they're trying to lead us to. And so I'm just here to tell you, man, seeing NASA coming clean about their fakery, which is basically what they're doing. Although we're really going to see the wheats from the tare now, because as we know, there's going to be a group of society that's going to stand by this Artemis mission and claim it as really happening. No, Lucky, man, we're going to space again, man. Even though the captain of the Artemis said, we will be the first humans to go to the moon and the first humans in low Earth orbit. That means he's saying there's not even people in the ISS, which is interesting, because I've been telling you that for 13 years. Hey, Globers, why do you reckon the captain of the Artemis would tell you the same thing that Lucky Haskins has been telling you for 13 years? That's odd. No? Weird, huh? Yeah. Well, how did you know there was no people on the ISS, Lucky? Because I have science. It disagrees with experiment. Fools. It disagrees with experiment. But the theory of it, drop your beliefs and stick to demonstrable science, and you'll find your way back to the truth, okay? No, Lucky, man, you're just blowing hot air saying there's no one in the ISS. No, science. Science, folks. I do know there's no one on the ISS. Why? Because it disagrees with experiment. It's not physically possible. There's no one there. So now NASA's coming out and admitting we've never been to space and we've never been to low Earth orbit. So there's no one on the ISS, according to the captain of the Artemis. Now, folks, you got to know that these are not accidents by NASA. They are literally using all of these television actors to create an absolute shitstorm of propaganda for all sides to turn everybody against everybody and just gonna create a giant mess. You see, the people who are going to remain blinded through all this, or they're just going to wake up to some things like, yeah, NASA was fake the whole time. Yeah, well, but you know what? China really went to space. They really went to space and landed on the moon, but NASA, it's because of the American government. It's so corrupt, this democracy. It doesn't work. Are you hearing me, folks? That's everybody's going to go, yes, we need to be properly led. The American government just ripped us off. They were horrible. They took 70 million a day and faked outer space. We've had enough of these democratic governments, which aren't even real to begin with, because these folks already run everything, folks. All they want is for humanity to submit and these guys to come into the light and rule from no longer from behind the curtain. They want to pull the curtain open and show you who they are. You'll never see their face. And show you what's up and put you under the rule of law using the very control grid that you paid for them to build to cage you. It's not going to be pretty. If that sounds like doom and gloom, well, I would certainly welcome, the opposing view and opinion as to why you think that they would come out and expose themselves as being fake. And I've been telling you they've been doing this for years. Okay, that's why I would say watch out for the flat earth psyop, including this, folks. That's what I'm telling you. NASA is releasing this stuff intentionally. So are they going to pull another giant psyop against the flat earth truth? I want you to ponder that for a while, right? All it would take would be a well-made AI video from space. Do you follow me? All this stuff was fake and fake and fake. The flat earthers, it's fake. Bunches of the masses wake up. It's clearly fake. Then they hit us with a good one. Then the masses will go, see, they'll admit some of this. Oh, well, we were really doing that stuff, but we didn't have the technology. We created the images here at home, but now we're going to space. And here come the aliens. Right? I don't really know, folks, to be honest. I that's me theorizing a little bit, but I can assure you that for years and years and years, I've known they're releasing a lot of these truths intentionally, and it should be very obvious with this new Artemis mission. Still, though, you got to love it. You got to love all these young folks waking up and all these, guys lost in their fairy tale, like these anti-flat earthers with these, profitable channels deceiving people for a living. It's nice to see them get smacked in the face right where they deserve it, because the damage that they're doing to the human mind is so extensive, and many of them know it. Or you just look at their mental health. Maybe they don't know it, but look what it's doing to their mental health, right? So there you go. Crazy, crazy world, folks. But look, man, Lucky's here to once again report that we are fine to hand off the baton. Speaking to the old guard here again, man, we're good, man. We can hand the baton off, and these youngins got our back. They may be still missing a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but once they're realizing that they don't live on a ball, that just opens up their critical thinking right away, and then they want to know the truth, and they will educate themselves. They know better, folks. We're talking about 5th and 6th generation New World Order babies, right? So they have snapped out of the trance. It's kind of sad what we've left them, but, us 4th generation guys had this pile of shit handed to us. So at least we talked about it. At least we pointed it out, like, hey, man, them baby boomers left us a fucking pile of horse shit. What were they thinking? The Earth's a fucking ball. Jesus Christ, you guys. Come on, man. Right? I mean, what a funny. There's humor in what humanity has been put through by these psychopaths, man. There really is. There's humor to be found in it, but it's incredibly wild. You know, most days you just want to. There's only one truther that I know that no one has ever been able to debunk for being wrong. That's Matt from Quantum of Conscience. None of it's real. It's all fake. Nothing's real. I mean, right? Anybody got an argument yet? Anyone? Anyone? Right. Anyway, ask yourself, who can I help today? And hey, it is the most important thing you can do, to go out there and do it. Either flap your jaws or just physically go help somebody. You can do it.